So we have with us, first guest that we have with us is Dr. Amrita Vohra ma'am. She is a very passionate learner and educator, currently serving as Director Education for GEMS Education India and Executive Principal for GEMS International School, Gurugram. She has over 25 years of experience, a PhD in English Literature, a certified program leader for Cambridge Professional Development Qualifications for Teachers and School Leaders. She has been a faculty for undergraduate and postgraduate programs in women's studies, literature, feminist literary criticism, women and child psychology, and business communication. So I think she has done a lot of work in education field. She has transformed a lot of lives, and I am sure she has created a lot of leaders like us. And we are so grateful to you, ma'am, for sparing out some valuable time of yours and shedding light on this important topic. So if you can tell us a bit about your experience till now as an educator, and seeing the current scenario, seeing the current challenges. Like हमें काफी time हो गया है, like we are almost 1.5 year, 2 years into this pandemic. So what are your views on that? Like अभी आगे कैसे होने वाला है? Like parents are very much worried कि अब अगले जो 3 महीने हैं या अगला जो 1 साल है वो कैसे जाएगा? So from your experience, if you can shed light on those things as well.
I'm just a learner and a teacher at heart. And that's what I think all of us here are pretty much, no matter what role we end up playing later in life. Very, very critical what this pandemic has done is that, like any pandemic has been a gateway to a whole new world. This is also a gateway, and it's a stage of transition. And whenever things are transitioning, that period of sequel, that period of change is always the toughest one. So I think that's what we're going through alongside grappling with the pandemic per se. The pandemic is also meant, with all this long drawn isolation that has gone on, it has been a pandemic of social isolation for children. It has also meant overly easy access to technology, absolutely unmonitored access to technology in multiple ways, for reasons we all are well aware of. And we have to remember that children do not just come to school, or education is not just about academic learning or different subjects, or even for that matter, the co-curricular subjects and so on and so forth. Actually, everything is a whole. And education, more than ever today, with mostly nuclear families actually, is all about social development of the child also. Children need other children. They need to talk. They need to be able to express themselves, and that's how they learn a whole lot. It's not just about what educators or parents can do. We all know how important it is for us, and has been for all of us at each age group, no matter which stage in life, to be able to connect with people our own age. And that's very, very critical, particularly for students of all age groups. And I think that is the most critical aspect. Learning loss has been huge despite all efforts. I mean, if I talk about our school, thankfully, given the fact that we have schools spread across the globe, this is writing on the wall. We were very ready for whatever happened by March 2020. And it's a whole different pedagogy, but as a Microsoft Showcase school, we were already all set. Despite that, and in terms of learning, in terms of student attainment, we have done benchmarking assessments of various sorts when children thankfully were able to be here physically in person for some time before this third wave began. And they've actually learned better. Learning has improved, but there is a whole lot of gap. We see children emotionally bereft. We see reactions which are very, very sudden and vibrant for no rhyme nor reason very often. So they need a whole lot of emphasis on social emotional learning. EMC Square, which is UNESCO framework for social emotional learning, is something that we very strongly implemented, and that's the focus. So empathy, compassion, critical inquiry, and mindfulness are some of the key things that children need today. And without that, I don't think we'll be able to manage the huge learning losses that the pandemic has laid bare for all of us.
We have Kapila ma'am, principal of Chalk Global School, Gurugram. She is an educator with 20 years of experience across teaching, curriculum development, teacher training, and administration. Comes with experience of working with different schools across North India and have been handling leadership roles for more than 10 years. Her varied interests range from child psychology, helping children and teachers both identifying their potential. So I have met her virtually multiple times during this pandemic, and she's a very good speaker and a talented principal, I would say, very experienced as well. So she has been a promoter of experiential learning as well as activity-based pedagogy to achieve 21st century skills that is actually required in this era to actually make our kids develop holistically, like they can develop their all the motor skills and all the skills that are required. So over to you, Kapila ma'am, if you can tell us a bit about your experience and like since the topic of the session is problem solving skills in kids, so how the current, keeping the mind the current challenges that there are in the industry, plus next 1 year third wave coming up and this problem solving skills, कैसे ये सब हम online कर रहे हैं, like आपके school क्या initiative ले रहा है and how we can actually do it.
We're entering into a new phase. Hopefully we were kind of stepping into it with a positive vibe, but then again Omicron has cast its spell and we're again a few steps back. Desperately looking forward to opening schools December. Post Diwali we had actually opened physically. Children were coming and they were very, very enthusiastic. So as Amrita ma'am also just shared, that we are social animals. So, meeting others is a very innate part of us. There's nothing demanding about it. And you rightly said, in today's topic just kind of, overlaps with the problem that we're already in. And what we're doing right now is also again sort of problem solving. So problem solving, I see, is a part of life, Yeah, that awareness of 21st century skills has come up in the past few decades and we're talking more about it. But that's the requirement. Problems are a part of life. To deal with them effectively, the sooner we start, the better we are. As they say, practice makes perfect. So problem solving starts at a very young age, and it should start from parents, from school, everyone as a community. The more we work with children towards all of that, the better equipped they will be. It starts from a very initial stage of for a toddler to say, okay, what slippers should I wear, to what frock should I wear, or what dress should I wear for my friend's birthday party, to going on to academic problems future, then moving on to what subjects to choose in class 9th and above, moving to college choices and what careers to choose in life, actually to what life partner should I choose for myself. There are all sorts of problems, and there has to be a way in which one starts thinking. And there are a lot of tools which assist this problem as a whole. Problem solving is a very complex issue. You have to break it down into smaller pieces.
Let's move to another guest, Anju ma'am. She is the principal at DCG International School, Chandigarh. As an experienced educator, she strongly believes that one can leave behind a rich legacy of students who stand tall in the society. She has worked in the education sector for 28 years and is skilled in communication, team building, interpersonal skills, education, leadership, and leadership. As a pedagogical leader, she believes that by continuously engaging in learning ourselves, we provide a nurturing space for our students. She is a strong votary of collaborative learning. She feels this is the need of the hour. So I think, ma'am, you have done some wonderful and fabulous stuff in education domain, where you have worked with a lot of private schools, helped them with soft skill training and all those things. So if you can shed light on your experience, what have you done till now, and how your school is actually also pursuing to develop problem solving skills in students.
So yes, the last 2 years have been, I would say, been very rough on everyone, but they have also been a kind of transitioning to a great academic landscape, where what was required earlier was perhaps spurred, in this almost last 2 years, you could say. So problem solving is one of the most important skills that perhaps one needs to instill and inculcate in the kids. And why so? Moreover, if you look at the changing job scenario, you look at the changing skills that are required in the unforeseen future. We do not know what kind of jobs we are going to have, but at least we can give them we can equip the students with those mental attributes and the competencies that can make them handle any kind of unforeseen situation in the best possible manner that they can think of. So even the World Economic Forum report, if you go by the report that they've come out with, they say that by 2025, the most important skill out of the 5 skills that they've listed, the most important skill that youth today has to be instilled with is complex problem solving. Now, we are living in an age where information is all, everything, I could say, information age, where every 2 days we are creating so much information as we created perhaps from the times of the civilization to the times up till 2003. This is as per the Google research. And the potential problems of tomorrow, they are going to be very different. So if we know what the job for tomorrow entails, I think what we need to work on is the right kind of skill set that we need to imbue our kids with. The traditional set of learning, I think whatever we've been doing was more on rote learning. So whatever we might say, I don't think, even while you were talking about this 12th standard kid, I think these are very scattered cases, where children can use their problem solving to come up with some creative solutions. If you talk about children as a generalized term, I think a lot of kids even struggle to come up with innovative solutions and ideations. Sadly so, because I personally believe that they're innately born to kind of problem solve. It's only us that we kind of regiment our learning only to the textbooks, so they do not get the time where their cognitive thinking can be given some kind of an impetus. And when I say this, what needs to be built up for problem solving is the difference as to what we perceive as education, I strongly feel. Because, what we talk about, the skill set, as we say, it will only come in the kids when we as educators, when we as a society understand that there's a difference between knowing and the application of knowledge. What we've been doing till now is regurgitating those textbook content, getting the grade, and the grade centric curriculum has brought in so much of skewed, I would say, intelligentsia, as you call it, because these last 2 years were a wake-up call. Now, if you see a lot of people who lost their jobs, they were extremely good in their academics, they were extremely good wherever they were pursuing their jobs and careers, but they could not bounce back. They were not resilient. But those people who were having the skill sets to continue with some kind of self-employment, or as you mentioned, the entrepreneurial skills, they were able to carry on with their work. It is a pointer that our education needs a complete revamping. NEP is there, but I have one grudge, of course, even at that point of time, in the sense that when we talk about the skill subjects, unfortunately, the skill subjects have been made merely an auxiliary. They're not even the mainstream topics. So when we are sidelining these topics and we assume that the children is going to follow whatever the teacher is telling them, we are going the wrong road, because this is something that they can learn. Problem solving tools have to be provided to them. So when the problem solving tools are provided to them, they get that mindset to ideate and innovate, and to kind of come up with alternatives, which perhaps comes with a different perspective that needs to be encouraged in the school environment. So yes, in my 28, 29 years of career, I've seen brilliant kids, brilliant kids. And they are so much into innovative thought processes, but the value of those innovation or innovative processes were not there on the report card. So tell me one thing, when you talk about problem skills, you need the life skill set. If it's not there in the report card, nobody gives any importance. So let's be very realistic. When we talk about building up the skill set for 21st century, we need a complete mind shift. And as educators, we need to upskill ourselves. We need to reskill ourselves on the daily basis.
We have another eminent guest with us, Renu ma'am. She's the principal at Trinity Mission School, Vyara. She believes that education is not just limited to agreeing to every fact written in book. It is about how it can ignite minds with learnings. And she is the principal of Trinity Mission School, Vyara. She's also associated as an academic coordinator for National Children's Science Congress at Tapi district. She has 29 years of teaching experience along with 10 years of administration experience. She has taught in 6 different boards, starting from CBSE, Rajasthan board, Maharashtra board, ICSE board, ICSC, and Gujarat board. She's a passionate teacher at heart, a disciplinary at her core. Her passion to teach children has always driven her to create an environment that motivates her staff and her students. So, ma'am, after looking at, you have taught at 6 different groups, boards. So my first question will be to you, definitely, that like which curriculum you enjoyed the most teaching? So which board was you enjoyed the teaching the most?
All boards are very good and very intellectual boards. All are very intellectual boards, but all are having different parameters. All boards are having different parameters. Suppose if I'm talking about the CBSE board, in CBSE board, objective questions are less. They work only on subjective. This year they have started, because of pandemic, they have started this type of questions. Gujarat board 50% 50% objective, 50% subjective. If I'll talk about ICSE and ISC board, they are also same thing. Objective questions are less. Rajasthan board also similarly. So all boards are very, very good and very, very intelligent boards they are. And I liked all the boards. ICSE board, ISC board, CBSE. Presently, I'm working with the Gujarat board and Rajasthan board. My all study was completed in the Rajasthan board only. And presently, I'm working in the Gujarat board. All boards are really, really good, really commanding. And I enjoyed in the ICSE and ISC board. ICSE and ISC board, when we are talking about these type of boards, this board is in depth. This teaches us the depth of the subject. But if you are talking about the examination, if you are talking about any examination, when you are going outside for giving any examination, during that time, this type of board is not perfect. Okay.
Got it.
All the entrance exam, when we are talking about NEET exam, we are talking about the JEE exam, this board is not perfect for the entrance examination.
Got it.
For entrance examination, only CBSE is the best.
Got it.
If we are talking about the state board, so all state boards are okay for that. But ICSE and ISC are not fulfilling the demands of the entrance examinations.
Now let's move to our last but not the least guest. So Neeraj sir. So he's an IIM Indore alumni, mechanical engineer, created Real School in 2018 to fill in the high order skill gap commonly uncommon among the employees youth. He realized that the process of upskilling starts at a very early age, around 3 to 4 years, and which I also believe like initial 90% of the brain development of a kid happens in those initial 5 to 6 years, and because of which like COVID is actually playing a very bad role in hampering that learning. So where their creativity and learnability is at the peak, absolutely right. The result was Real School that focuses on skills over knowledge. Before Real School, Neeraj ran a company that was into industrial automation. He was awarded the Leaders in Innovation Fellowship by Royal Academy of Engineering, London in 2018 for his contribution in engineering to tackle environmental issues. So, Neeraj ji, आप बताइए थोड़ा कि मतलब Real School है क्या और like how do you play a role in like developing those problem solving skills in kids, and how are you coping up with these COVID scenarios?
First, I would want to begin with telling you how this all came into being. So, I was that kind of a child who never found any satisfaction in the books that, he was in. Like, when I used to scroll my 6th standard science book, I would find that the answer that I'm looking for is not here. It's in the 9th standard book. And there, my brother who was in 9th standard, he would not allow me to open his books. So I found solace in the Homi Baba Center for Science Education that is there in Bombay, just beside my school. And I used to scroll through all the books. I also used to hide a few books that, nobody else should get, because it was a huge library. and I had to hide that book just because the librarian will then keep it somewhere else and I would not find it later. So that was a book by DK on flights, airplanes, how do airplanes fly. So what I realized was everything was limited. When I was in sixth standard, everything was limited. Things they would teach us, they would never teach us the difference between force and pressure. Kids loosely use the word इसमें बहुत force है, इसमें बहुत pressure है, इसमें बहुत energy है, when they're talking about force. क्यों? I mean, they don't know the application because they don't know how a force is different than pressure. And then I used to do a lot of experimentation. I never bothered that my classmates would make a model of a nuclear power plant, because I used to study in the Department of Atomic Energy Center schools. So a lot of parents who belong to who used to work with the nuclear facilities, they created small models of nuclear reactors. And what I did was I just tore open one parachute coconut bottle, split it into three, twisted it. I asked my teacher to get in her hairdryer, and I blew air over it and it started spinning. And I found tremendous happiness in doing that. The blade was rotating and the shaft connected to it. I could transfer energy from perpendicular axis to vertical axis. So I realized there's so much to experiment, so much to do. So why are we so much limited upon just doing things that are asked by that particular standard? Later on in my life, I realized I because of just my passion, I got into mechanical engineering, but I wanted to do more, because the mechanical engineering, the job that it gave me was just going up and down the ladder of a chemical plant. I was not at all satisfied with this. I thought I have to do something else. So I found an opportunity to work with an edtech company who were completely doing some innovation in the content. I thought, let us bring in some more activity-based learning to it. So that was year 2008 when we got some hands-on learning tools from Taiwan and China and created some hands-on activities around that. It was a tremendous success. We could realize that the kids are finding so much passion in building things. So that was also covered by the National Geographic and Department of Science and Technology. The event was called Scientifica, that we used to host at IIT Bombay every year in January. So it was one of the most amazing. I would see the kids experimenting on their own. We would give them junk. We used to call that even junk create. I could see that I would give them cycle spokes, broken chairs, wooden rods and bars and glue sticks, whatever, and we used to give them a problem statement. So that problem statement was something which was very close to their heart. Ask them to solve something. There is no fixed guideline. There are no rule books. You just have to do something. Your solution should differ from someone else's solution, and we would then grade them based on how easily or how suitable their answer was to doing that thing. So that's how I realized this is the thing, this is the only way to learn. There's no other way. But there's also angle. There's a different part to it. See, what I believe is I've also worked in I started an engineering company which was into industrial automation. So right from that toys, I did my MBA, and while doing my MBA in the case books, our professor would teach us some cases, and then there were some blank pages on that case book. I used to scribble something which was not even any business case study or business calculation. That was some design of a machine that I was visualizing in my mind. That machine was supposed to be the India's first automatic motorcycle wash machine. I used to scribble it, and I signed out of placement just because I didn't want to have any plan B. I wanted to create that business, create opportunity out of that. So people used to ask me, boss, आप MBA बन रहे हो, वो भी I am इंदौर से, आप ये छोड़ के engineering में वापस घुस रहे हो. So what I realized is, see, that there are companies that provide job because they have one problem, like a nut or a bolt that get loosened too often because of some vibrations, and therefore they need a person to solve that problem who knows the formula. So who would know that formula? Let's list down the potential candidates, those candidates who have good marks. So let us catch hold of those kids who have good marks and put them to this task. It's highly likely that some might know the calculation, some might have put in their problem solving skill and find out some other calculation to solve that vibration problem and fix that nut bolt, so that they could avoid some big accidents or get better products to life. So theek hai, schools provide that knowledge, right? I might get the difference between the force and pressure so that I can apply it properly. But things that are beyond the books, like skills, how to think, the abilities, using my dexterity, the social skills, that is something which is terribly missing among kids. And that's what you can do when we engage kids into such experiential learning. I give them a problem statement which has some real life application, and that's the only reason why we call ourselves real school. That's the only thing, because we want our kids to work on real world challenges. So this is a real school. With due respect to all the schools, even I was a CBSE student, so I know I am not at all bothered about what curriculum, which board offers what thing. See, there are some exams, because we are a country of huge population, and as a even I had been most of my life, throughout the 16 years, I had been in the position of hiring people. So I understand. Even today, after this meeting, I have 10 interviews lined up. I would only pick up. I've asked those guys to shortlist those kids who have XX percentage in their report cards. So that is a shortcut method to find people when I'm hiring freshers. Although when it is hiring experienced people, the game is very different. But that's the only criteria that we have to do, and we are totally helpless. We can't do away with that the yardstick that we have from a school, that so and so points, so and so marks. You have to rank above certain percentages, only then you are a smarter kid. But the world, for those who dream differently, who are dancing to a very different tune, I think they will definitely find their own ways. That's what real school does. We have lots of courses to let these kids explore such things and find out on their own way, be it playing football, or be it playing a chess. There are certain skills that they would find in playing football, like leadership skills, or some team building skills. Here in chess, they would develop skills that would be much more important to run a bank, right? So that's what real school does.
Ma'am, what is the value of problem solving in our development? Like when a kid is developing, so what is the value of problem solving actually?
Problems are the basis of life. So problem solving is something which helps the children to nurture a lot of skills in them, whatever comes in life ahead. So in terms of decision making, in terms of strengthening their ability to think critically, is all a part of problem solving. So what we do in discussions. So during the pandemic, what happened is that obviously the social interactions were cut drastically. So otherwise we have a 5-day working school, but during the pandemic we started Saturdays, and the specific purpose was that it's only a circle time session where the children would meet for around 1.5-2 hours, and it was an informal, no subject period. It was with their class teachers. So the whole purpose was that, okay, let us look at problems. And the beauty is that children have the best solutions to problems. It's just that we sometimes underestimate the children for their abilities. And the beauty is that as we grow up, yes, we get more knowledgeable per se, but also that we are bound by so many restrictions that this cannot happen or this cannot be done, versus the children who are very free in their thinking and they come up with interesting solutions to problems. So just to give you an example, we started discussions about this. I'm talking of a slightly older age group, about the problems of, okay, is smoking a good habit or a bad habit? So unlike the older generations, very comical in note that, I remember the generations before us, all the fathers would say, or all the parents would say, I scored maximum marks in my class. I was the topper. I did so much to achieve and this and that. But there is a shift in the mindset. So the millennial mindset is thinking more on terms of, discussing the problems with the next generation. So parents acknowledge that, yeah, we are also leading a life which had challenges in it. And likewise, the children are also more equipped to handle them. So coming to the problem, so we had this discussion in the group about smoking. Is it a good habit or a bad habit, rather than just professing that, okay, smoking is good and it should not be done. So we invited some people over who have been smoking, some who have quit smoking, and we had circle time sessions around it, where children researched a lot about, is it a problem or is it not a problem? As someone rightly mentioned, that the first step to begin is to identify that, is an issue a problem or should it just be left aside? I mean, a tap dispenses water is when you open the knob, or it works via sensor. If I don't like the tap which has a sensor, I went to the mall and I saw a tap which has a sensor and mine at home does not, but that's not a problem. If the tap is leaking, that's a problem. So it starts with children at the level where those skills need to be developed, that they start identifying an issue to be a problem or not being a problem, and it has to be left. and then researching about it, finding out about it. And that's how the entire session went ahead. And finally, it took a long time, a lot of discussions with the people involved in the discussion, sharing their experiences, and then critically evaluating the sharings, talking about it. Then further to that, communication with each other, discussions, and then they came to a conclusion that okay, and it was left to the entire group, that okay, decide for yourself. And interesting, the outcome which came was the next birthday would come. We have a habit of the whole class makes a birthday card and we share it with so everyone writes a message and we compile it and we gift it to the birthday child. So their messages came up: don't use a cigarette in your life, I'm going to get you. So that was the solution which came up, and we really did not have to profess. So sometimes we also underestimate children as, always giving them a ready-made solution, which should not be the case. Let them fight through it. They will find their own path. We are there to streamline, we are there to guide and scaffold the process, of course, because it's a complex process and it takes time to nurture those skills which are required. So that's the importance of problem solving in a real life, because ultimately you have to live life in a real world. So the more we enable children to experience such occasions where they can use their skills and hone and develop their skills further to nurture problem solving, the better job we're doing as a school to let it happen.
So, ma'am, your problem solving, so what I think from my perspective, like this is a very wide range, like a very broad term, problem solving. So, ये problem solving skills के अंदर क्या क्या आता है? Like what all things are included in this problem solving skills? What sort of skills are included actually?
Well, we do it every day. Making a choice is a problem. Looking at a situation and then taking a decision is a problem. Almost anything can come under a problem solving as such, pretty much. But I think in schools, and as Neeraj, when he was talking about real school or real learning, to me that is real learning, because that's the only way learning actually happens. Whether it is a school or any entity, any kind of institution engaged in learning for children have to have agency. They have to have their voice and choice. They need to be able to have the flexibility. Like he mentioned, he wouldn't find the answer to a certain question that came in his head. So what made him really do, if I may, is this sense of curiosity. He was always curious, and future really belongs to the curious. That's what we all say. So this sense of continuous curiosity and critical inquiry is what our job as facilitators is to build in children. So like he mentioned, give them stuff and then maybe tell them some problems that are everyday and real life that happen here and now, which probably they connect with, and you will find answers. And all you need to do is allow for them to develop certain skills. Our job becomes to ask the whys at the right time. 5 times why is a very good strategy. The thinking hats of De Bono are a good strategy. All these strategies, and I think design thinking really helps. So how we do it at the school is that we have a whole lot of the curriculum in the hands of students pretty much, and they decide, this is what I want to learn, and I'm going to go about it this way, and then I'll present it. Like normally, schools have PTMs where parents and teachers discuss what's going on with the child. We have a student-led conference instead, where the student decides, even learning. There is a curriculum. There are certain things to be done. There are certain exams to be written and so on. So that also has to happen alongside all the fun. So, and all the other skill development, etc. So even for that, children actually look at, okay, this is what I'm doing pretty well. I'm enjoying doing this in this particular subject. And this is why I think I'm doing this well. Being able to think about why you're thinking and why you're liking or not liking something is critical. Reflection is really key. So at every stage that needs to be developed, and that's what teaches children real problem solving skills. So when they look at, okay, generally I was, for instance, never good at math. And the only thing I heard from maybe teachers was that, you need to work hard, you need to practice. Well, I am sitting with that book the whole day, but nothing happens, right? So no magic wand's going to get down and so on. So what is critical is for the teacher and the child to figure, okay, what is it where that error or that mistake is happening? What kind of error is happening? And why is it happening? What is it that is disturbing and not happening? What aspect of it may be something from prior knowledge that wasn't as clear as it should have been, which is why I'm so confused right now. So I go back, I check, and that's what is needed. And this only a child can do best. And all we need to do as facilitators in the process is to ask them questions that ignite their thinking, their reflection. Okay, you think this will be so great. Okay, why not? Try it out and then let's see. Does it work? When we realize, okay, they're going in some negative direction, then let them for a bit. Sometimes they figure on their own. When you realize, okay, they're not, then it's time to ask a question and time to bring them back. But not by telling, but asking. There is a huge difference there. So student-led conferences, children really present their own portfolio to parents for everything that they've learned through that particular term or learning cycle, as we call it. And they say that, okay, this is what I enjoyed. These are some of the challenges that I figured during this term. This topic, I'm still going wrong with this particular thing. So therefore, my goals, I have to work on this. I need to prepare for this. And I have a very clearly time-defined goal. So here what happens is the ownership has gone to the child. It's not somebody telling, none of us like to do anything that we are told to do. We all want to do, we're human. We all want to do what we want to do because if we want to do it. And we've all spoken about student-centered learning for ages, but the pandemic laid it so bare. When you are in a virtual classroom, or let's say a hybrid classroom now, half of them in front of you, half of them online, there is no other way but student-centered learning. A child has to take ownership. There is no discipline by army style possible anymore. It has to be something that comes from within. So it has to work like an orchestra. But actually, even in-person school, it only works if it works like an orchestra. It doesn't work any other way. We may try hundreds of things, but actually, it's the environment and the culture that we create around learning, where everybody, right from the person who welcomes you at the gate of the school, and the person who serves you maybe a cup of tea, to the student, to a person who's teaching, person who's technically assisting, and so on. For everything, everybody is part of that community. The parent, the child, the teacher, everybody is part of that community. And if the entire community starts thinking in a certain way, now, how does that happen? Over a period of time, you build a culture for it. You influence through positive outcomes and positive attributes and attitudes that get reflected in children. Children, when they are learning because they want to learn, they learn not just that particular concept that they're learning at that point in time, they learn 20 other things alongside it. It doesn't matter whether that board of examination that school is following has put it in a certain particular grade level or not. It's irrespective. The world and subjects don't exist and boards don't exist actually in glass walls. In the real world, problems and things happen every day. And who is better at problem solving than us Indians? We call it jugaad, but what is it but problem solving? We are smart at it because it's a necessity. The necessity makes, so necessity is the mother of invention is what happens. And that's what we end up calling jugaad. But fact is, you put in a situation, and if that situation demands a solution, you will think about it if you have to, and then practice eventually makes perfect, and we become better and better at it. But it is these situations that right from birth, children get. Even error, one very, very critical thing in terms of allowing for this to happen is, when I say student agency, also a whole lot of teacher agency, because lots and lots of teachers want to do it, but they have this fear that if I try this and if I try something different, management may not take it in the right spirit, or ye nahi hoga, wo nahi hoga, etc. It's very critical to have everybody in the system feeling, go ahead. Sometimes you will learn, sometimes you will fail. That's okay. There is no finish line to learning, right? Sometimes you will succeed, sometimes you will learn. There is no failing actually. So, and the management has to show them that, I have your back. Go try, and we are here. That free space for learning is what, when a child is trying to walk, that they may fall down, but you're still allowing them, right? Letting them try that out. You probably also, alongside ensuring that, the child-proofing the space, etc., so that nothing big or nothing too big of a fear thing happens, that you're ensuring. But at the same time, it is a free space where the child feels safe and therefore goes out there and experiments and learns. That's how every one of us learns. Absolutely. That creates that culture, and that leads to learning of any kind.
The problem solving capacity have any relationship with the academic performance?
It enhances the academic result. Our old research also says that it will not affect on the summative or formative, but definitely it will affect on the final results. Suppose any child is there, he is suffering from any problem or whatever problem, subject related problem or any problem, if he is facing. So if we are working with that child, slowly he will start learning. He may not learn till formative, he may not learn till summative, but definitely he will learn till final examination. Here, I'll tell you one thing, one example I will give you. One of the child was there, I am a bio faculty. One of the child was there, and always he used to say, ma'am, I don't like to draw the diagrams. Always he used to tell me, ma'am, I like subject, but I don't like to draw the diagrams. I was also listening that child. I was also getting why he is telling like that. Once I sat with him, but he was not liking at all to draw the diagrams, Then slowly I started working with that child, and I think around 2 months it took. And he started loving the diagrams. I made him understand you should draw the diagrams. If you draw the diagrams, you will come to know the value of the diagrams. Suppose we are talking about the body structure, you will see about your eyes, your intestine, lungs, liver, whatever organs are there. He started drawing, and slowly he did that thing. And as I said, till final result, he scored so nicely. And after that, today it's the result. He is the biggest doctor. So I like that thing very much. And apart from that, one thing is that problem solving skill help students to find relevant answers also. If child is there, if he is having problem solving skill, it will help student to find relevant answers too. If he is getting questions, sometimes he may get answers himself only. He will clarify to me, ma'am, it is correct or not. This is my question, this is my answer. So this is what it is to be done in this manner, and definitely it enhances the academic results.
Yes, problem solving does improve one's academic performance, because again, when I say this, my definition of success is somewhat different from getting just the grades, right? So when you are having problem solving skills, basically you're learning persistence, you're learning grit. And I think in any field that you go to, grit is the most defining factor for any future success, and that resilience that gets built when you are doing some kind of a problem solving. So I think when children are given projects or they are given inquiry driven lessons, they are learning a lot of critical thinking, reflective thinking. And what is most important is that they learn to collaborate. When they're collaborating, whether they're doing it in the school scenario, in groups and teams, for them, different perspectives holds more respect now. They also do not stigmatize failure. What is a big kind of I would say a big problem with our academics is that we consider anybody less than 90 to be an average kid, unfortunately. So, children fear so much the fact that they might fail in something. When I say fail means not failing per se, but failing to achieve the target that perhaps unrealistic expectations of their parents or their peers or whosoever has of them. So at least problem solving teaches them to accept a lot of perspectives, lot of options, lot of solutions, and they do not stigmatize failure. So that means they build up all their confidence, and when they're confident, they become incompetent. So academic performance is bound to get bolstered. And then having said this, I think we also like while they're doing problem solving, creativity does get enhanced. Your kind of like, it triggers an engagement, the love for the subject, and the understanding of the context becomes better. So I always believe that problem solving is akin to brain gymming. You keep your gray cells ticking and your cognition keeps building up. And it gives you a kind of joyful experience end of the day when you can relate. So it becomes, the textual understanding becomes relatable and relevant. So when something you're studying, you are understanding why it is being taught or why it is important for you to learn that, you can relate to that. It makes your academic understanding and the pursuit of academic excellence more, palatable, as we say. So if somebody were to study trigonometry for that matter, now if the children say, why are we studying trigonometry? A lot of kids keep saying in 10th, I remember a lot of kids would say, why are we studying all these subjects? End of the day, we are not going to pursue in all these subjects. We'll pick up one or two and that's what we should be given. Now we have to give them that importance. Why integrating all these subjects is very important for your understanding of the wide ambit of, knowledge that you're going to glean in your later years. So once you give them the reasons, and I think problem solving puts that perspective to the right scenario. You give them the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, they are going to easily imbibe that. And I think that is how the academic performance gets enhanced.
So what I've seen is even parents, when they come to me, they ask for something like मैं coding class लूँगा आपसे, मुझे certificate मिलेगा क्या? So I asked why. So they say because that XYZ junior is also giving us a certificate. So I told them, yes, I will give you a certificate, but what would you do with that? So they say that I'll present it to someone else who would then value my child beyond a certain, he will level that child at par with somebody who has actually taken an industrial course on, let's say, coding or something. Then it takes me a long time to make that parent understand how that although he wants, I'll take a printer, write down some content, sign it up, print it and sign it up, boss ye aapka certificate hai, le lo apne bacche ke liye. But what is that actually going to add value to your child's performance in exams, even in the exams abhi jo kar raha hai? So it's a very, very tough debate. It's very difficult for me to convince them that whatever that we are doing, whatever that we are trying to put in his mind, he would not be using that to take up a job in Google. He's not doing that coding just for the sake of coding. He is understanding structural thinking. So what is the purpose of structural thinking? Asking a child that see boss, I have 50,000 rupees. Let's plan a trip for the entire family. Just give them this task. Isn't a structured thinking implied there? We have to put in a lot of structured thinking into there is mathematics, there is logic, there is some empathy, there are a lot of things that one has to do to plan that that trip. So that's a part of our curriculum, that take this thing and plan something. The kid is too young to even understand things like addition or subtraction, but he finds a motto, he finds a purpose. Why should I do that? Why should I subtract so many rupees? What is the purpose of layover? What train should I book so that it stops at this destination? Then I would walk for so much time or take a bus, go to this station. So this is all structured thinking, and this is something which is not even helping him in crossing over the subject that we offer them to do, but it also helps them excel in the content that is there. See, the kind of grit and resilience that they develop in doing all of this, as Anju ma'am rightly said, is what would add up to his to the task that are given up in school, and the kind of character that the problem solver that we are making, they look up to, or they take up any other challenge in the same way. So
Absolutely right.
so that's that's what I feel about academic excellence versus this problem solving approach that we have.
Like, what can parents do to encourage problem solving at their home?
I think it is very important, as you rightly said, that the school, parent, child, school, all have to work in collaboration. They are all stakeholders to the development of any particular child. So the most important thing is let the child be. I think allow the child to make some mistakes. That's the only way one learns. So every time, extra scaffolding, that's one problem with this generation, that we want our children to be safe and secure at all points of time, and parents go to any length to make sure that the child does not have to face too many challenges. But honestly, that's, if you remember, I don't know, I do, that our pencil we used to sharpen and it used to go this small in size, and we figured out that okay, if I stick it into a sketch pen, an empty sketch pen body, I would get a bigger. So it was a multiple step process. We were conserving the environment, we were respecting our resources and finding solutions to problems, real life problems. So those things, somewhere, if parents also let children enjoy their childhood. Yes, I understand that somewhere parents feel that okay, what we did not have is something we should provide to our children, but sometimes it should be the other way around also. Let them manage with their resources, let them lead a life where they do face certain challenges, and then try to find solutions to those problems. So that's one very important thing. And I think also teaching children to eliminate options. Again, it comes to the same parenting style, that parents come up with ready-made solutions to problems already. Instead, let a child, if a child is saying, okay, I don't want to wear my socks today in winters. So instead of insisting you'll fall sick, you'll do this, let the child pass in some options. Okay, you can catch a cold, it's too cold, runny nose, etc., etc. Let the child eliminate, okay, do I want this problem with my life or I don't want it? So then arriving at a certain decision that should I take certain steps. I think that process of elimination in parenting is also very good strategy. When a child wants to eat out at all times, that's another problem with this generation, where children want to go out, eat out. So helping children in those scenarios would be really helpful. And another thing, as I think we're running out of time. So
no issues. If you have anything, final message, you can definitely conclude.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one point when we're talking about academic excellence and problem solving, how it helps. So I encounter many a times with, again, we were talking about the fact that, the metros and so some cities are more privileged in terms of a wider perspective from the parent community and their school community as well. Whereas there are certain great cities who are still reaching up to that level. So I also encounter this problem in school many a times, where parents come up and they say that, okay, why is your teacher not giving the answers to the questions? Yes, our purpose is that we will work with the children. We will answer any doubts that they have n number of times. My teachers would never say no, that no, I cannot clarify this to you the fifth time. We'll figure out different ways if a child is not understanding. But yes, I would definitely not promote that answers would be written on the blackboard and the child copies them. Then how are we nurturing skills? So that's another aspect, that let the child understand the context. If you've read a chapter, for me, preparing for an English exam is that you sit with the stories, read them 3 times over, and you're done. You're good to go. As long as you're understanding the story, you don't need to mug up any answers, any questions, be it English, any languages. EVS, if you've understood the concept, no matter where, and going to higher levels also, even in the board exams, a lot of it, I mean, I've honestly sometimes also used the class 10th exam paper for my teacher recruitment. And there were some parts of it which teachers could not attempt. It was purely, there was a passage and then there were follow-up questions to that, but it's very high order thinking. So in order to nurture that high order thinking, I think we definitely need problem solving to be nurtured as a whole. and it will definitely supplement a lot of academic learning.
So if you can mention some concrete strategies to initiate problem solving skills in students.
We are living in the age of instant gratification, and now more than ever, it is critical to ensure that children have to work to achieve certain things at times. Sometimes because they're just too used to getting everything on the platter. I want this now and I get this right now. So that is creating a lot of challenges. And that is one very key strategy that we have to ensure that happens. The other is divergent thinking has to be encouraged in everything that we do. Higher order thinking has to be part of everyday teaching. Problem solving is a natural aspect of it. Critical inquiry has to be inbuilt into everyday processes, whether it is at home or at school. And then it works wonders. A child is full of potential. Every child is. All we need to do is allow for that potential to grow and develop growth mindsets. Ensure that children learn how to fail forward.
Teacher, you told now, teacher should teach from KG to PG. KG to PG session. Any class, if it is given, they should be able to teach. First thing. Second thing, if I am talking about the parents, whatever problems are at their home, if they manage or if they do with disagreement, it reflects directly to the child. So at the place of confront, at the place of avoiding them, confront them. At the place of avoiding problems, confront them. Second thing, talk and listen to your kids very respectfully and very carefully. What they speak, you have to understand very well, and you have to work like a team with your kid. If your kid is telling some problem is there, you are supposed to listen. You are supposed to understand. Tum ye acha nahi bol rahe ho, that is not the way. You have to be very supportive with your kid. And it's my humble request to all the parents, be supportive, be with your kids. I request to all the teachers, I request to all the educators, principals, be with your kids, be with your students, try to understand their problems. And definitely, they will be our good friends. They will understand what we are telling and why we are telling.
How can you promote, like in your school, how can you promote problem solving in students? So like they are actually, so like what I have learned till now in my life is definition of problem solving, which Amrita ma'am and all of you said ki problem hai kya, pehle ye pata hona bahut zaruri hai. Yeah. So how can we promote that? Because मैं like I will not name the school in which I have studied, but मेरे स्कूल में कुछ नहीं होता था ऐसा, सिर्फ पढ़ाई हुई है, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग वगैरह मैंने नहीं सीखा कुछ भी स्कूल के अंदर. तो प्रॉब्लम कैसे सॉल्व करते हैं, प्रॉब्लम होती क्या है, ये मुझे आते ही कॉलेज में पता लगा. तो मैंने डीसी में पढ़ा तो मुझे एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप और ये सारी चीजें, प्रॉब्लम्स और ये सब समझ आया. So like how can we promote it among the students?
So as you said very rightly, need to identify a specific problem. You have kids from all kind of backgrounds, right? So we need to understand we are catering to all kind of intellectual levels, and not every child comes from the same familial setup. So the families have a different level of education, different resources, and when you kind of give them a problem, it has to cater in a manner that everybody can come up with at least some kind of an input, right? So what I have recently started, like after every chapter or every lesson that teachers do, we encourage our teachers to give them some kind of a case study related to that. It could be some kind of an SDG, Sustainable Development Goal issue. It could be anything, but it has to be a real life-based problem that they can take up, discuss with the kids, and then they can ask them about some kind of a specific concept of that problem that they would like to handle. And generally, what happens when you can't be ambiguous in this. You have to be very clear as to what you want of the kids. So I think when you're telling them to articulate their problems a little aloud, you can also understand what they are talking about. You give them a case, they decide what that problem is, they come up with some aspects of it that they need to handle. tell them to share it in the class. So while they are articulating whatever that aspect is, you also understand whether they are going in the right direction. So at times what happens, children do get stuck for want of whatever the reason might be. So you ask them to visualize a kind of a path to that problem and the outcome. When they do that, what happens? The problem solving becomes a more tangible option to them. And generally, a lot of kids become a little nervous because they're not all confident. So you tell them to start the problem with a good breath. Take a deep breath, calm your nerves, let the clarity enter into your mind. Then they look at all the possibilities of that problem. Keep pushing them to get more information. Research is very important. Exploration is very important. Get as much information as they can. Once they have that information, they need to cluster that information into kind of different labels, like who do you need to talk to for this problem? What is the thing that needs to be done? I mean, they need to jot down the points. Where would you want to get the further information? So who, what, and where do you want to get that problem? How do you want to go about it? So under the three labels of who, what, where. Now, this also helps them to kind of direct their energy into the right direction. Once you are directed, then you need to ask, as a teacher, you need to ask very directing questions to them. It's very important that you let them get steered in the way where you want them to go. So don't be vague. That is why I say it's not easy, because your teachers also need to be trained in asking just the right questions, and they can do that if they have the right answers. So you need to be having teachers who are very well versed with the things that they're handling. You can't just be complacent in your position and say, I'm the teacher, I can give you whatever and you do the work. It's not like that. It has to be a two-way thing. Then encourage group work. We do a lot of collaborative activity because it helps the children to think critically. It gives them, as I said earlier, a lot of multiple solutions, all acceptable. Some might be better than others. So all are there. In the process, keep giving them that positive reinforcement. It's very important that every now and then children feel that, yes, what they're doing is good, it's being appreciated, they're going the right way. So that positive reinforcement is important. Then communicate that process, communicate to them that this process is very important, that it's not whether you come to a solution, but the entire process towards that problem, towards finding the solution to that problem is important, because in every step of the way, you're going to learn a new skill. So I think as a principal, my job is to make sure my teachers are always learning and upskilling and upgrading themselves, evolving as educators and being the right mentors that they need to be. It's very easy to throw the terminologies and the terms here and there and say, yeah, we're doing everything that needs to be done. It's really difficult at the ground reality. I interview a lot of teachers. I feel saddened at times when they can't answer the basic questions, it breaks your heart. So when we don't have passionate teachers, they are just going to do half-baked service. So we need teachers who are passionate, who are ready to walk the talk, tell the children this is the way to go about it. But for that, they themselves need to learn and upskill themselves. As a principal, I do that every day myself, So I expect my team also to go with me in that process of learning. I'll give you a very simple example, Mayank. As a student now, I was very fond of reading. So I'm just giving you this example of what the education system sometimes, looks like. In an ICSE school, very good school, it's one of the prestigious schools. And I remember as a kid, you learn in science, one of the examples, chameleons change color for camouflage. Now that's what we learned and that's what we heard. But every time I would see a chameleon, I never saw it changing its color. So I would ask my teacher, but I have not seen it changing its color. She would say, no, jab wo green ki piche hoega, to it would turn green. So when it's near the brick wall that's brown, it would turn brown, It's a way of camouflaging. So everybody accepted it. It was way later, I think, while I was going through some documentary made by BBC or Discovery somewhere, that I realized, just imagine the teacher is giving such a confident reply that it would change its color when there's a green backdrop or a brown backdrop? The answer was that the chameleons don't change color like that. They change because it's a temperature regulated feature. So and can you believe that these are very little nitty-gritties, I'm telling you the nuances, how education is taken for granted. We need to question. Questioning has to be there. As Amrita ma'am said, whys. All whys need to be there in the place. I always ask my teachers, my students, they tell me something, I say, why? So they tell me an answer, I say, tell me the why for this also. Now tell me the why for this also. So it kind of helps to give them a new perspective to that problem. And I don't want them to come up with solutions from Googling it, because that anybody and everybody can do it. It's an information that's available to everybody. Think out of the box. You might have solutions right in front of you, for want of time, I'll just give you one very quick example, very quick example. Can I give that, Maya?
Please
So
go
there
ahead.
was this magician was asking his audience, that look, I've got a candle and I've got some pins and I've got candle, pins and a table. So how would you put the candle on the table without letting the wax fall on the table? So he's got a candle, he's got some pins in a box, and then there's the table. So he tells the audience, can you tell me the way you can put the candle on the table without the wax falling on it? So everybody's thinking, but the solution is right there. What has happened? Because he's just talked about the table, candle, and the pins, the audience or anybody who is listening to him forgets that there is a box also there. You understand? So all you had to do was take the box, put the candle in it, fix the pins on the wall, and the wax would not be falling on the table. But what happens, because this is something called cognitive bias, every time we are trying to find a solution to a problem, we conveniently take whatever is presented in front of us and not something that makes us go beyond the ambit of our comprehension. So that is why I keep telling, read a lot. Anytime you want to problem solve, please read a lot, because till the time your understanding of things is not widened, you can't solve much. As Neeraj said, people still say force, pressure, energy, वो same ही लगता है. हम force लगा तो रहे हैं, इतना pressure लगा रहे हैं, पर ठीक नहीं हो रहा. The terms are so intermingled because the clarity of concepts is amiss. So that is what we are talking about.
आपका जो रियल स्कूल है वो स्कूल्स के साथ काम करते हैं. जैसे मेरे स्कूल में तो कुछ भी नहीं था ऐसा प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग स्किल्स, और अंजू मैम जैसे, रेनू मैम जैसे लीडर्स, कपिला मैम जैसे लीडर्स ही नहीं थे हमारे स्कूल में जो हेल्प कर सकते थे टू एक्चुअली ग्रो आवरसेल्फ होलिस्टिकली, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग इनेट कर पाए. सो आप कैसे हेल्प करते हैं स्टूडेंट्स की उस वे में?
Right. So what happens is, in our curriculum generally we are limited only till explaining certain concepts, providing certain theorems, and then asking questions based on that. But what I've seen at least in CBSE, I saw that there were certain sections where the title was things to do or activities, and then we had to do it. But we very, very comfortably used to just jump over that. Just to jump over that and read the next section. Like before MBA, I would read Economic Times without reading the numbers, without understanding the essence of those numbers, where those commas are located. So we do not understand the magnitude or why those activities were there. So what we thought was, why not put in all that activities, but in a very, very engaging way. So it can't be made engaging if you don't give them something in their hands, if you don't make it hands-on. So what we thought, let's take a very simple concepts, like concepts of let's take something that fascinates them: 3D printing, 3D modeling, or space science, or maybe everybody used to drawing solar system on their notebook where there are concentric circles and sun, the diameter of sun is same as the diameter of Jupiter. They're just used to drawing it, but do they really understand what is the relative sizes between all of them? So let us come up with a session called how big is the solar system. So we have concepts like this, so many single 1 hour sessions on all such topics. We have curricular excellence, we have health and wellness, we have food and nutrition, we have something on formal sciences, on technology. So these 1 hour sessions they are available on our websites where the kids can book it, just like they can book a movie show. Only difference is we tell them what to get in the class, what to be prepared with, and this would be a one-on, actual runtime teacher would be there, and in a group of 4 or 5 we do that. So even schools, they incorporate these things in their calendar, where during the school, before the school or after the school, they can take up those classes in batches. So that's what we try to do.